Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday. I'm saying January. June 23rd, 2026. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. Don't worry, I'm going to get contact soon. This is getting out of control. But I digress to start. Garrick Hodge is here. Mark Porter is here. We have a jam-packed show. The reason we're a few minutes late is we're trying to get in order what we're going to discuss. We have commitments. We have commitment videos. We have quarterback discussion. We have impending commitment discussions. We have updates on arguably the most heavily recruited running back since Archie Griffin, and I wasn't even here for that. So we're just going to stand back and let these guys cook. Garrick. Obviously, we got a commitment recently yesterday from a 2029 wide receiver, Austin Miller out of Bellflower, California. We have video for that later on. And we're also going to catch up on Jaden Carey's video, the corner defensive back from St. Thomas Aquinas who committed later last week, and we didn't get a chance to get a video out. But let's start at the top. Let's start with the money spot, and that is quarterback. Brady Edmonds was in town. So was Garrick Hodge and Mark Porter, wouldn't you know? I thought this might be a week where we figured out that Brady Edmonds wasn't going to be a Buckeye. There was much consternation about that. There was other guys offered. There were a bunch of quarterbacks here. Garrick, the floor is yours. Please tell us the complete update on the Brady Edmonds situation. If we could slap that into context for quarterback recruiting, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so Brady arrived in town last Wednesday for a 7-on-7 tournament. And man, the layout keeps changing on here every time.
I'm experimenting.
All right. Well, I'll just talk while Dan presses different buttons. So, okay, all our faces got closer. All right. We've digressed enough. So Brady Edmonds arrived in town last Wednesday for a 7-on-7 tournament, and then he stayed a day later to camp with Billy Fessler, Ryan Day, watching closely. And then he started his official visit last Friday, and carried on into Sunday. And really, it was an opportunity for Ohio State to watch him throw, obviously, because they haven't really seen a whole lot of him outside of coming by his school a little bit, watching him throw in the open period, especially when you factor in that he's been hurt for the past year. So they kind of wanted to see him throw again. And the camp setting is always really where Brady's going to thrive, just based on his profile. I mean, the guy has a rocket laser for an arm, throws with a lot of precision, a lot of poise, a lot of accuracy. And before I kind of really get into where things are from a recruiting standpoint, I just have to give a hat tip to Brady because the guy is a complete consummate pro. After his Wednesday workout, his Thursday workout, he held court with the Ohio State media, who threw fastball after fastball for obvious reasons, trying to get a real pulse about what's going on in that recruitment. Is he still in on Ohio State? Is Ohio State still in on him? And he answered those questions professionally. He answered them politely. He fielded questions from whoever wanted to ask them. And then not only did he do that for 2 straight days while he was on campus, he was kind enough to call me on Sunday and kind of give me an update on where things stood. And then he did the same for many other reporters that cover recruiting. So regardless of where this shakes out and where this is headed, I have to give a hat tip to Brady, who's been a consummate pro, because I know a lot of quarterbacks in his situation would not like to do this whole media tour and not like to give public update and field questions and handle their business internally. But he already kind of has the face of the franchise mentality of I'm going to wear it. I'm going to not run from anything, and I'm going to give you guys an update of what's going on. I'm going to be direct about it. So where things are at, I think that the official visit was good for Brady. I think that he got the answers to his questions he wanted. Most importantly, Ryan Day and Billy Fessler communicated to him that they are still very high on him. They still would like him to be their quarterback in 2027, even if they might take a second later this fall, depending on their evaluations. But he has his own decision to make because UCLA, from what I understand, values him extremely highly, and he probably would be the most talented quarterback on UCLA's roster the moment he walks in the door. So he's factoring in early playing time as well. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. He could start as a freshman or at the very least as a sophomore when he gets on campus. So that's another thing to weigh, especially when you get a full-out court press from UCLA. You got legends like Troy Aikman calling you, telling you to come to UCLA. He definitely would be the crown jewel of Chesney's recruiting class early, especially getting a win publicly over Ohio State. Where do I think Brady's head's at? I think, truthfully, he doesn't know what he's going to do right now. He did say that he is probably going to finalize a decision within the next couple of weeks. I think that nothing that would happen in this recruitment would surprise me. It wouldn't shock me if he stayed with Ohio State. It wouldn't shock me if he flipped to UCLA. I would say probably 51-49 right now. He goes to UCLA, but that's pretty fluid. That's just me more reading the tea leaves than anything else. I think Brady hasn't made up his mind yet. I think that he is going to do this process the way he's done everything, with due diligence and explore every pro and con, have a lot of discussions with his family. And fortunately for Ohio State and fortunately for Brady, I don't think we're going to have to wait too long to get a honest appraisal of where everybody stands, and then both parties can either come together and lock in or move on and do what's best for them. So we'll find out very quickly where things are headed here.
Mark, as most people know, you and your son, DJ Porter, are on a gauntlet of official visits. Glad to know that month is over. But you were there with your son at the camp, throwing alongside Brady Edmonds, or at least close to him. Could you please first, what's cool about this is you saw him last summer as well. So you have a little context here to put it into. No one tracks progress of high school prospects like yourself. So my question is this: give us the full rundown on Brady as a prospect in comparison to last summer, like how he's progressed. One thing that jumped out to me, and I didn't get to see him throw as much as you guys, but he is a very big human being. He's like Will Howard size from my point of view, which is, I would say, what Will was probably 6'5", 240. I was at a party once and one fundraiser, and he took a picture with Jack Sawyer and CJ Hicks. And if you said those are the linebackers, you'd have been like, okay, I buy it. And so that's effective. And then kind of what you thought of him throwing the ball and your general vibe about the situation, sitting on the sidelines, everyone chats.
Well, Garrick kind of knows what I think about him when I saw him there. I kind of bounced everything off of him, and Garrick helped me get this quarterback rundown we're going to go through straightened out this morning. I spent too much time watching quarterbacks this summer for obvious reasons. I tried to be scouting Ohio and get to the other positions, but I watched all these guys. I watched them at different places. Lucas Prock to Ohio State, then he's at Penn State the next day. I saw the Tabron kid from Michigan at a couple places. After seeing all these arms, when my son and I went to Michigan, it was went to Indiana. It was our first dose of DJ. There's humans that are better than you. God made other people, and he didn't make any mistakes when he made these people. He just made them better. And you saw a couple, and we expected to see players like that as we got to like Louisville and Pitt and bigger places and Penn State. The first couple of Ohio State camps, the Tabron kid was good, and there were other kids there that were good. This last Ohio State camp, I thought was the best group of quarterbacks I've seen in a couple years all together in one place. Okay.
At any camp, at any spot.
At any camp. So I think Ohio State backloaded this camp, got them all there on the same day. The 7-on-7 was in town, the next day or the day before. I'm sorry. So let's start with Brady Edmonds. Last year, we knew he threw it hard. We knew he was a drop back pro style quarterback. Okay. And the Will Howard size thing, I like that. I'm trying to think of a fair comparison for him to what he looked like, because he's not a tall, linear Jared Goff look. He's a thicker linebacker, well built, like Will Howard. I almost want to say he's a bigger Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and I'm using that because Garrick, his arm's as good as we have seen. I mean, I went to every camp this year. There was no arm, and it wasn't even like a second place was close when it comes to power and the RPMs where that ball was spinning. It's spinning faster than every other ball. I mean, he when Garrick said it, rocket arm, I don't know if that even does his arm justice, because I was prepared to go there and say, oh, I'm going to look for a reason why Ohio State can sidestep this and go to the next one. And I told Garrick, I said, oh no, after what you're seeing, I don't know how you let this arm go. You know, the worst thing you're going to do is, like you said, maybe we'll take 2, but we cannot say to this kid, oh, you're not good enough to play here, because he's plenty good enough to play here.
Mark, as a point of comparison for the arm strength, you saw Tavian St. Clair play his whole career.
Yeah.
High school, and you've seen him now. How would you compare their arm strength?
Yeah, this arm I think is hotter. I mean, it's really a hot arm. He's got so much power in his back and his chest. Tavian's longer and linear, and now Tavian's put on some weight. Tavian today and whatever is different than high school.
Sure.
But Brady coming out of high school, my man is in the weight room. Something is going on. So he is throwing the ball harder and better than he did a year ago, which there was a jump, which I didn't expect that. I think once you get so good, you're like, well, this is kind of the max out, that they're not going to get any better. Here's what I have to say that'll put this in context is, let's say Brady Edmonds is a future Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Well, also at this camp, when you have Josiah Boyd standing there, you may have a future Jaden Daniels standing there. Chris Vargas could be another big-time player standing there, whether he's a CJ Stroud or I don't want to say Lamar Jackson, but every quarterback that was standing there was a future NFL big-time player, I have a feeling. I want to go back in 5 years and say, yeah, Garrick, were we right? Was there a future Jared Goff standing there and a Jaden Daniels and a CJ Stroud? And Ohio State was just sitting there bewildered, like, which one of these top 5 NFL-type players do we take? Because from what I watched and all these kids working out, they weren't far behind Brady Edmonds with arm strength and spin. I don't want to belittle these other quarterbacks were there, because they were just as good. But Brady's arm was the best. These other guys were bringing other things to the party. A little more athleticism, a little more upside maybe at the end, a different style of play. Maybe you can run a zone read with some of these other guys where Brady's not exactly going to open that part of the playbook up. But you could see in front of you almost like the head scratch. I guarantee if the Bucknutters stood behind us and saw Brady Edmonds throw a ball, they would say, please don't let this kid leave. He just throws it too hard and too well. We understand that he's a pocket guy, but it's the best arm in the country, and he's going to the NFL. The other guys are just as good too that I mentioned there: Ty Snell, Josiah Boyd, Chris Vargas, Tabron, and then Lucas Prock was another. He's your Julian Sand clone, but there was a nice group of guys there.
I'd like some more developed thoughts from you, first blush, on Christopher Vargas.
He played the day before in a 7-on-7 and beat RJ Day's team in the quarterfinals. RJ was telling me that, and he was not happy because RJ wanted to, leave his senior year as the 7-on-7 champ at Ohio State. I think that was not fun. He kind of was mad that it was an all-star team, so Vargas had the advantage of some big-time players. Yeah, and we were joking at Kent State, the all-star team won that tournament. We're like, let's get the all-star teams out of the Ohio team tournament stuff because it's not fun. But he actually worked out, Vargas did, in the pre-workout, okay? And what's funny is he had an Ohio State shirt on, and I remember telling Garrick, there were 2 kids wearing red shirts. One of them had an Ohio State shirt, and my eyes immediately stuck to him for 10 reps. And I was like, and then he disappeared. And I was like, was that an Ohio State quarterback I don't know about that was just kind of warming up today? Like, who on the roster looked like that? And then a la Christopher Vargas. So he was really tall, linear. He's the one that I think looked like a Jaden Daniels body, that big, long, tall, lanky. It looked like he could run around. When he was throwing it, the spiral, the accuracy, it definitely, like I joke with my son being in these lines, like I used to give grades A, B, C, D. Now I just give better or worse. You're better or worse than my son. And every guy that was going, I'm like, better. Another one's better, younger and better, same age and better, okay, older and better, but it was that.
I mean, you're around some of the best young quarterbacks on planet Earth. No,
and that's what I'm saying. I've been to the quarterback sessions. I've been to the workouts. I sit there and just bored out of my mind watching these quarterbacks throw. And nothing like Brady Edmonds before. In fact, Brad Mandler was there. He's the quarterback guru that sent Drew Aller over to Penn State and works with all these guys from multiple states. And he had a bunch of guys there that he had trained. He was even like, this is a little, different than what we see on a North. And it should be. There should be 4 or 5 guys in the country that literally make the decision easy for Ohio State. I tell people all the time, and I don't mean to disparage any college coaches, they're not rocket scientists. You give them 2 guys that are kind of 50-50, they ain't making a decision. You give them a guy that is clearly above, I'll make that decision, and then they look like they're smart. And I think Brady Edmonds is like that, and these other quarterbacks are like that compared to the rest of the guys I've seen. And remember, Louisville, Pitt, Indiana, Penn State, we've been some places, and I've stood in some quarterback lines. And fans get excited about Brady Edmonds. If he's coming here, he's something. That arm, he doesn't have to move. He can put the ball in places just standing there that other people can't. And he gets it there so fast that extra quarter of a second, 0.25, gives your receiver that much more time to be a better receiver. And that's something that you can't really put a price on, and it doesn't really show up unless you're a guy like me saying, hey, look at the receiver who's already headed upfield north and south where another guy's still catching the ball. And you see that. You know how they have 4 guys on the line and they all drop back and throw? Brady's guy has the ball and he's upfield. The other guys are still waiting for it. And when you see that, you're like, that's the difference. That's the thing, the intangible, that why you would take a kid like this, that fans would be like, he can't move. Well, your receivers are getting a little point, whatever advantage on the beat on the DB. So, there's a rub there to really debate.
Yeah, when we first saw him, I thought his arm was similar to, and this is hyperbole, but he kind of has Justin Herbert's arm. That's what it reminded me of. And I realize that's a strong statement, but I'm not saying anything else about him. I'm not saying he can complete a pass, but his arm strength reminded me of Justin Herbert, and the fact that his arm is so strong, he almost doesn't need to have his feet involved a lot of the time. If you watch, he just whips it.
I don't want to be
fun to watch. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I would go a step up and say his arm's like Josh Allen. His arm will pierce the side of a battleship. He doesn't run like Josh Allen, but I think Josh Allen has probably the strongest arm in the NFL. I think when this kid gets in the NFL, much like, how we were talking about Arvell Reese a year ago, and he's good, and Sonny Styles is good, and then the national media got a hold of him. When the national media gets a hold of this arm before it goes to the combine, you're going to start hearing comparisons from those guys, and you're like, really? Brett Favre? Really? Josh Allen? Okay, and I know Garrick was there, and I kind of walked over. I'm like, geez, this arm. And he's probably like, what is the matter with you, Mark? And maybe it was just dad jealousy. Maybe that's all it was fatherly jealousy that my DNA couldn't produce a son that had a rocket arm like this. But I was impressed. So I'll leave it at that.
There's always a kernel of truth in jealousy. Let's be honest. I've had to go through it the same way. Sometimes you just, I don't know if your wife you ever turn to your wife and say, I'm like, that kid's way better than our son. And she'd be like, no, he's not. I'm like, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And that's okay, by the way.
It's so funny when you say that to them, and they're like, but our kid could do this. And you're like, stop the arguments.
Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, dude.
No.
I could put out a comedy routine of my wife. It's embarrassing what my wife has said at times. Let's just say, I don't want to even go into the Jalen Brunson comparisons. I'm like, babe, come on now, come back to earth. But that's why that's why Mott's also and D can maybe comment this at some point. We should have, see, there she comes. But I'm saying a lot of moms don't like recruiting just because you get some truth about your child. And to tell you the truth, like DJ's been a stud his whole life, not used to having the negativity, and the mom doesn't want to hear it. So we understand it.
A couple of personal stories is Mark Pantoni was walking around the camp, and DJ and I were standing there, and I said, Mark, look at my son's face when I say this. I said, DJ, how strong is Brady Edmonds' arm? He just put this look on his face of like, like an unadulterated like truth. And then he said, I was scared to catch his ball when I was playing catch with him. Like I was worried I was going to break a finger. Okay. And then Billy Fessler heard me tell my son, stop going the direct rep right after Brady Edmonds. Because you're never going to look as good as Brady Edmonds, and all you're going to do is look inferior. Go get 5 or 6 spots back in the line and quit going next to him. Now, here's another true story, and this is a DJ off the tangent thing, but Miami of Ohio had a camp that night, and DJ had done, Penn State the night before, Ohio State that morning, and he looked at me throughout the camp. He's like, my arm's a little toast. He got in the car after that camp. He goes, I'm so embarrassed on how much better those guys were than me. He goes, I have to go to another camp tonight. And he was pissed. And he had his best camp at Miami of Ohio, and that's what led to that offer. But we weren't even going to go to that. So I want to thank those guys for motivating my son and to give me 3 Advil, head over to Miami. I'm not done with today. I'm not leaving on the note of following those guys all day. I feel like he said, I feel like I'm a 7th grader. That's what Brady Edmonds. And if I showed you the picture, my son looked like a 7th grader next to him.
Brady's a legitimately big dude. Also, it's a tough gig, man. You're talking about the best of the best working out there. So I'll also imagine when he got to Miami, not as much issue with who he's in front of and behind of in line, if you think about it that way.
Well,
sometimes that helps you, man. You go in there and you're like, wait a minute, is that Brady Edmonds? Everyone here is 3 inches shorter and the arm isn't as strong. I like this way better.
Yeah, it was a 28 and 29 only camp at Miami, but that's what I told. I go, the backdrop of what you're being evaluated against now is in your favor, where that backdrop at Ohio State made everybody in line look, like second place, as it should. That's what we wanted Ohio State. And I love that having a son in this, he could see that line with his own eyes. And it wasn't like one of those kids, and I see it online, I'm better than those guys, whatever. It's just internet hype. It's how do they get all those offers?
Right.
You're standing there yourself going, offer him. He should have more offers. Why doesn't he have 138 Division I offers? Like, what's the holdup on all teams not offering this kid? That when your son and other players can see that, I think it helps them realize that there is a pecking order, and maybe I am not. There are delusions of grandeur, like, hey, maybe, in the right light, Ohio State will see me throw a few strikes and my 40 will be great. Like you think that there's some miracle scenario. All kids going there, there's Garrick, how many quarterbacks are there? 80? Yeah. You're telling me 60 of those suckers don't think there's some sort of chance before they show up that day? 20 of them might be like, yeah, I know, I'm just here, I'm a JV. But the other 60, dads. Or then there's 60 dads and moms over there going, we got a chance. And you know what? Education to them. Yep. If they're not standing over there and they don't get in the car, like you said, and say, hey, son, I hope you got their autograph today. And I hope you remembered their names. And I took a picture of all the kids in line, and I said, DJ, go back to this picture in 8 years. And Tampa Bay Bucks, Raiders, Seattle Seahawks, you're going to have kids in those type of environments after. That's what type of day. I know we went long on this quarterback thing, but I thought it was a great group of quarterbacks.
Young DJ may have a growth spurt in him yet, and then we will rediscuss.
Yep.
This is not uncommon. I know a kid who was told he was about 6'1" and change, and the coach said to him, if you get to 6'4", we will offer. And it's basketball, and the team may or may not have won the most games of any team in the last decade.
I know I told you the Ivy League school that was like, Mendoza came to our camp. We told him he was not good enough, and he apologized for not being good enough. Yeah. He said, it wasn't my best day, coach. I didn't deserve an offer.
Yeah, that's also a window into my guy's soul right there. The most the number one quarterback you ever want to babysit your kids, Mr. Mendoza. Not sure that's actually what you want out of a quarterback right now, but we'll find out. All right, Garrick. I thought you were going to take a little nap there.
Yeah.
But listen, that is insight on quarterback recruiting, both in 2 different ways that you're not going to get everywhere else. So we appreciate both guys putting the time in this week to get us that. Let's hit the low-hanging fruit out of the camps. They offered a ton of dudes. Who were the ones you think that emerged from this camp that are like top of the board guys, names we're going to need to know that we're going to chat about here on the BM5 for years to come?
Well, this wasn't really an offer because he had an offer far previous to this, but this is just another opportunity, and I'm going to get accused of being his agent or something to gush again about Kellen Hall, a defensive lineman from Kentucky. There was the number one defensive lineman that came into one of these camps, Tyson Swan, and I thought he looked very good, but I thought Kellen Hall was on an entirely different level. I think that he came into camp and proved that he is a number one type of target on the trying to play 3-tech. I think that he has an amazing blend of speed and power. I think the one-on-one drills, he was dominant as he should be. I think he would be the perfect complement to Jameer Weiss, the defensive lineman already committed to Ohio State in 2028. Personally, I mean, there were so many good players that we saw, and I'll just gush a little bit about Christopher Vargas because I did see him throw on that Wednesday 7-on-7 camp. If I were going to compare him to a recent Ohio State quarterback, I would think he's most likely CJ Stroud in terms of his strength is a pocket passer, but he also has that elusiveness and mobility if he needs it. Obviously, CJ Stroud didn't run a whole lot when he was at Ohio State, but as you saw in that Georgia game, he certainly had the escapability and the elusiveness to move around when he needed it. And Christopher Vargas reminded me a lot of CJ Stroud in that capacity. Obviously, there's some other differences, but the arm talent, like Mark is saying, was just otherworldly. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the very short list of number one targets in 2028 for Ohio State and quarterbacks. And I guess I've buried the lead a little bit because I think we should probably bring this up too. Is there was some guy by the name of Jet Harrison that came to camp on Thursday, and you might have heard of his brother and his father. One of them was a very good wide receiver for Ohio State, and Jet looks every bit as advertised. He's not as big as his brother, obviously, but he is very smooth. He is very polished. The quickness just jumps off the page, and I don't think I saw him drop a pass the entire day. And like Mark was saying, this was a who's cast of quarterback on that Thursday camp with 4 or 5 of them with rocket lasers for an arm, and the guy just stood out. And like Vargas, they only kind of took part in the pre-camp workout, but I left camp thinking, wow, man, Ohio State really needs to get Jet Harrison in the 2028 class, and it would be really cool if they got Kellen Hall in 2028 to pair with Jameer Weiss. So those are really the 2 names, and I know you said guys that were offered, but if you want top of the board tier 1 guys, Kellen Hall and Jet Harrison and Christopher Vargas are really the ones that stick out to me at camp. Dan, you are muted. You are muted.
Okay, I did that because
COVID times, we're back in them.
Yeah. No. That is dog times. I'm flying solo this week. I think did I tell the group this? I don't know if I told the people. Excuse me. We're on Brad watch. I am solo, and Brad likes to speak up. If people walk by the house, it's sunny out, so I was trying to predict when the bark would come because it's coming. All right, Mark, did you get a chance to see Jet in person?
Yeah, I saw him in the pre-workout, and he actually got a rep or 2 with my son. They did some routes on air, and I was like, okay, there he is. And it's cool to see those guys in that pre-workout environment, and then they shut it down, and they get to walk around. And it's funny. I forget who told me this, but you better stay with the coach that's coaching you. You know, like if you're not working out, don't drift off and start signing autographs. Be involved in the drills. And I can tell you, Vargas, like he was right there with Fessler all day. Like Fessler goes here, Vargas goes here. You know, it was a chance for him to kind of get in the mind. These guys ask some pretty tough questions to these quarterbacks. I'll hear him say something like, hey, if there's single high here, what should he do? If he was, you know, if the coverage is off like that, should we convert it? You know, like there's a lot of that stuff going back and forth. And it's kind of just small talk, but I know that these guys are like the computer, like, that's not the answer I wanted, or you just failed that question, or, you know, like, okay, or this kid is, you know, a savant. Like every time I threw something at him, he was like, oh, I just converts, you know, so getting that back there is kind of when you see a Vargas standing there all day, that's the purpose. It's not just to be big time and not work out.
All right, we need to go to current events now. Obviously, you need to go if you haven't been reading Garrick's roundups and official visit info. You, like I said, you're doing it wrong. You need to go to Bucknuts right now and get yourself a premium membership. He has been as advertised and very productive. Very happy with the work Garrick is putting out. So you guys need to get on that. Speaking of which, very interesting development in the David Gabriel Georgia's recruitment. Some ancillary stuff. Georgia got knocked off the list. He's essentially down to Ohio State and Tennessee. They throw in Ole Miss. Not sure why. I don't think that's going to happen. I guess Ole Miss could come in with the Brinks truck, modern recruiting. But they offered one of David Gabriel George's buddies. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name. I'm going to leave that to Garrick. So I'm going to give Garrick a minute here to look it up if he doesn't know it by heart. I do think this was done to sweeten the pot for DGG, and that is okay by me. First of all, if you look at a picture of his friend, physically, the dude is ready. The two of them look like superheroes, literally. Literally, go look at the picture. They look like they're rocked up. And if that's what it takes to get DGG in the mix, we need to do that. Can you give us an update on DGG in terms of where you think it stands? Will he stick with his announced commitment date? And then throw in the context of his buddy that got offered from the Baylor school, and you can do the name.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot new to update in terms of where things stand. Both Ohio State and Tennessee are very confident about where they sit. I think there's a lot of cautious optimism from both parties. And I think Ohio State is doing everything it can to be competitive and win this recruitment, quite frankly. Yeah, I think that he's going to maintain his July 22nd commitment date. I haven't heard that there's any plans to change that as of now. I did finally go, well, that makes a lot of sense when he canceled the Georgia official visit, because I was like, why is he going to a place that has Kamon Spell, the number one running back in 2027 committed? No, I mean, listen, Georgia's got a lot of money, but there's not an athletic program in the country that's going to spend on 2 5-star running backs in a 2027 class.
Yeah, I believe Tom Loy said they're not going to buy 10 stars worth of running back.
Correct. Yeah, it's just not very practical from a business standpoint. Anyhow, so it kind of threw me for a loop on Friday when they offered his teammate at Baylor school, Jordan Darren. And really, I had to end up creating his 247 Sports profile because we didn't have one on file for him. So I called him when he got home the next day on Saturday, and he kind of told me his story. He had been talking to Ohio State for about a week. They invited him to campus on Friday, got to be around the guys, spoke with Matt Guerrieri, and Matt Guerrieri offered him. And honestly, Jordan got the offer. It is the first Power 4 school that's offered him. He has other offers from Georgia State, Kennesaw State, Dartmouth, and UT Martin. So really kind of came on the radar. Now, I want to get this out of the way. This isn't charity. They like him. They think that he could be a tier 3 developmental player that could turn into something. He's been a starter at Baylor school. He's played cornerback. I think they're going to play him more as a safety if he comes to Ohio State, probably in that slot corner, nickel corner, maybe as a free safety. We'll see at 5'11", 185 pounds. But do I think that this had as a little something to do with this is one of David Gabriel George's best friends? Yeah, I think that might have incentivized this offer a little bit for sure. Now, and David and George himself reacted on social media saying, yes, this was an offer I've been waiting for. Let's go. So proud of you, man. Talked with Jordan a little bit. I asked if he's talked to David about potentially teaming up together at the next level. And they said a little bit. Yeah, they'll probably have conversations going forward, but they're both individuals and they're both going to make their own individual decisions, and we'll see what transpires from there. But I do know that these two are extremely close. Like David, he's from Canada. I believe they've known each other for a very long time. And this is one of his best friends. So we've talked about package deals before on this show. And if that ends up coming to fruition, this is a package deal that Ohio State would sign up for today.
roommate deal. You can come here, you can pick your roommate. By the way, that's a big deal. And like I said, go check out the picture. I'm also all for doing this. The amount of turnover they have on the rosters, that you lose 25 guys a year guaranteed anyway. I'm exaggerating.
I would offer his girlfriend to be a cornerback. I don't care.
Yeah.
I would dress her and send her out to practice every day. Yeah, she could backpedal. I'd put her in line.
Yeah.
If that's what it took to get him here, I'd offer his girlfriend, I'd offer her 2 best friends to go play cornerback behind her.
Yep.
So that she wanted to come here and she dragged him here. And then when they couldn't handle it after a couple semesters, we'd still have him and they could just, hang out at school. But I of course, that's a joke. But in this day and age, Dan, you just said it.
It's a joke, but it's happened.
The roster chart.
Yeah.
And this isn't a charity case, because we're going to take a handful of MAC players every year, okay, that are going to be they're not walk-ons anymore. They're our scholarship, no NIL investment guys that, yeah, you're a Division I player at some other places. There are skills there. You come here and get with Mick for a couple of years, and let's see where you're at. Okay, that would be my pitch. And yeah, you might be something. And if not, we will help you go land somewhere else. Okay, we're going to get a scholarship back. You're going to get a soft landing spot. We know a lot of people. And I think that process is repeated. And I think that's the new college football there. But
that's a really good point. And that's something that I think is taking place and we can discuss another day. I think people are committing knowing they might even possibly transfer. But it's, look, I got Ohio State. If I get in, once I get in and get on the field for Ohio State or even get into the program, I mean, what's my guy that I always use as the example, the receiver, BP Miller. Dude, BP Miller had offers from who besides Ohio State?
Bowling Green, Miami.
He plays at Washington. Washington just had a guy drafted in the 1st or 2nd round at receiver. So once you get labeled, that's smart. So that's another discussion entirely. And we have the offseason to discuss it. All right, we have to cut it off here and get into the video. First video, Mark. Who is it? We're going to do Miller time first? You want to do Carey first?
Austin Miller's. I'll pull up either one. Who do you want? Tell me.
Carey. Let's do Jaden Carey first. Get it chronological here.
Okay.
And plus, I think there's a far greater chance Jaden Carey will be a Buckeye. Look, this is a public service announcement. We know a guy committed in 2029. There's a chance he will not end up at Ohio State, possibly. Please don't be the guy that gets on here and fills up the text and the thread with just like, he's not coming. We get it. I also am not sure I agree with that. Ohio State's actually done a pretty good job holding on to guys. And could you please give us a little bit of an intro on Miller, Garrick, before we do the dance here video-wise, because I learned something about him when you guys were talking about him that I think increases the chance he'll stick.
Yeah, Austin Miller, I know some people roll their eyes when they hear 2029s, right? But already heading into his sophomore year, 6'5", 200 pounds from Bellflower, California. Honestly, just an offensive weapon. No matter how I'm going to read you his stats just so I don't send myself into a tizzy here. 85 rush attempts for 883 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, 35 receptions for 609 yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns. So 21 total touchdowns as a freshman, not bad. This is a guy that I think is going to be in the running for the top player in the 2029 class, regardless of position. Certainly going to be in the running for top receiver in the class. He ended up visiting this weekend, and it was almost kind of like he was on an official visit. They kind of let him tag along with the other guys with the official visits, seeing the itinerary.
Kinda.
Yeah. So, he got the red carpet treatment, and he said so himself. He was like, I had high expectations, and they even blew those out of the water for me. He said they made me a huge priority, just as big or even bigger than all the other recruits in attendance during a packed official visit weekend that had Jameer Brown, Brady Edmonds, and Blake Wan. When you know, you know. Everything aligned great for me, and in every facet.
You said their names?
10 out of 10, yes.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what you didn't mention, what I love is his dad is his high school coach.
Yes.
This is not some guy who came in, saw the bright lights, and was like, commit quickly before we, I mean, you can't trick a guy like this. So, Mark, the floor is yours. Actually, who are we doing first?
Well, we talked about Miller, so we might as well just do Miller time.
Just do
Okay,
Miller
we'll
first.
switch it. Yeah,
You're good. That's my fault.
no,
Bad driving there.
that's okay. I got all of them ready here. It's just a
I
matter
know.
of.
I'm ready for your consistent disclaimer of
Go ahead.
another one of the. It looks like we're doing the Marvel universe rather than recruiting, but take it away, please.
That is the best way to say some of this. The Marvel universe of cast and characters. When you said 2029 receiver offer, I'm like, come on, what's going on with this stuff? And I get it now. Boy, Chris Henry, Jeremiah Smith, I think he's right in the middle of both of them. Chris Henry didn't look like this as a freshman because Chris Henry was a lot skinnier, a lot lighter. This kid's got some thickness to him. It's hard to believe that he looks like a freshman. He looks like a college player already. His high pointing skills, the way he gets the ball here is truly way advanced. I mean, the way he ran around, I think he almost one-handed that around that guy. He's just a weapon. And when you progress this kid out 3, 4 more, 5 years before he gets to Ohio State and steps on the field, it's like a lifetime of development he's going to have before we ever see him. But this goes right into that Marvel universe mold of, I don't know who he is yet, if it's going to be Chris Henry or Jeremiah Smith body type, but that's what it is. Okay. And it seems like we're going to bring in one of these every year and put someone on the other side who's, a match to this, but look at him go get the ball. I mean, the layout, the speed is the thing we're going to question immediately. And, if you want me to question some things about a young receiver, it's a lot of go balls. There's not a big route tree here of, digs and posts and slants and a lot of the crossers and that type of stuff. But he had to play wildcat quarterback half the year, so he's going to get a free pass on that. And so whatever quarterback was throwing to him seems like throwing it up for grabs and doing pretty well by it. But good job by Ohio State finding this creature so early because there aren't many of these guys. And here's the secret with the 6'5" body. Not a lot of them run well, and this looks like one that runs well early. That's what makes Jeremiah Smith and Chris Henry so special. Side note here, Chris Henry looks amazing. Seeing him walking around those camps, he's got some thickness to him.
Effect?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do, I think we should probably do the top 10 bodies by Mick this spring, what the top 10 transformations on the team, because that's important. There are guys walking around out there that you did a double take. Accidentally, we got there too early one of the days, and we got there for the end of the Ohio State team finishing up. So, yeah, we really got to see a lot of these bodies walking by with shirts off and guys, after a workout, a little more pumped up. In fact, one of the high school coaches is talking to one of his former players, is like, what the heck happened to you? Are you a little pumped up right now? Did you guys do some extra push-ups walking off the field? Because all these guys, they were swole, I guess is the word I wanted to use.
Yeah, there's a picture of Legend Bay going around that if it's not AI, he might just go directly to the Cowboys. We're not even going to play his career. He looks like a machine. And we've talked about this as well. That happens. Guys who maybe didn't have the best training or whatever, or nutrition system, they get to Ohio State. I remember Curtis Samuel day one, and by 3 months in, he had gained 15 pounds of muscle and he was faster and stuff. So you never know what the mighty Mick can do. All right.
The JJ Press transformation, seeing him when I saw the Glenville guys all standing there, I had to do the double take.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. It's awesome. I mean, we could sit and gush all day. And we're not done. All right. Jaden Carey. We owe him an apology. He's kind of gotten lost in the sauce here. I really enjoyed Jaden Carey's commitment ceremony. Garrick, you may think I'm crazy here. He is very comfortable talking to people. He says that he's got a little charisma, magnetism to him. You know what I'm saying? If you told me this guy was eventually going to be a captain, kind of leader of the secondary type, he has that vibe to him. Just it's very amiable, comfortable in his own skin. Taller than I expected too when he stood up. More of a linear dude. comes from St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to look at the video. Garrick, you want to just do a quick review of his commitment and kind of what they expect out of him?
Yeah, I think you said it best, Dan. This is a confident young man, and I'm sure D can back me up in the comments that confidence is one of the number one traits you need to play cornerback at the highest level, and he certainly has that. 5'11", 175 pounds, from Fort Lauderdale, teammates with Wyatt Smith. Obviously played at the school that produced both Bosa brothers, so pretty nice upbringing. Okay, so I would say Jaden, even though he's an outside corner for his high school, he's probably going to slot a little bit more inside, play that nickel. Feasibly could play on the outside if he needed to, but I think he's more of that nickel spot. But this is a guy that is a perfect complement to Deontay Malone, the other cornerback committed, because I think Deontay is lengthy and rangy enough to be on the outside. So they got two contrasting styles here. And the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Mark to get into the film is the guy's just a ball hawk. He finds the ball, he takes the ball away, and he just he would lay his body on the line to get a game-winning interception if it means the difference between a win or a loss. So he plays with his hair on fire when you watch him, and I think that's what's really going to show when we watch this film.
Lisa missed the public service announcement. Come on, Lisa. All right. Bring the noise, Mark.
Okay, so when I watch this film, I'm usually like jotting down some notes, like especially with these corners, like what are they actually doing on this film? What are the coverages? Are they strictly man-to-man? He is everywhere. Here's a little shot of him coming off the edge here. You can see the physicalness, the hair on fire. He's going to play zone man-to-man. He plays off. He plays press. And Garrick said it. He's on a zone assignment here where you saw the guy he was covering leave him, and he just stayed in his zone drop, and voila, he's in perfect position for an interception. A lot of corners don't do that. Even though when they're in the zone, they get stuck man-to-man. There he is breaking on a route. That was a quick hitch. He broke on it and got in front of it before the guy did. This kid can play a lot of different. You see him there in zone coverage. It looked like he was covering the hitch, and he stays over the top, gets another interception. He plays cover 3 right here, and it's as well as you can play it. The high pointing of the ball, the staying in, never getting the deeper than the deepest thing. And then there you see him there, the zone coverage where they tried to cross him up with an inside-outside thing, and he fooled the quarterback. He took a couple steps inside and baited him, and now he's got another interception. So, Garrick, when you said ball hawk getting the ball, I was thinking that, but he did it in different ways. He wasn't just breaking on man-to-man balls or bad balls. He was baiting guys, okay? I mean, and there's a section here where he's going to defeat blocks and blow up wide receiver screens, which is another part of this cornerback play in this day and age where you're seeing a lot of bubble, tunnel, funnel screens where you got to get off blocks. You got to be able to use your hands and throw guys' heads back just like a defensive end and give a hand shiver. And he did a great job of that. I thought that when you watch this film, when it comes to blitzing off the edge, zone, man-to-man, length, all the other things, he's pretty advanced in his knowledge of coverages. He's going to come in pretty well schooled. I really think that syncs up with what you guys are saying about the interview and the way he was in front of a camera. You have an athlete and a student. Yeah. This checks a lot of boxes as we got into his film.
It's obvious he's been well coached. His feet, if you watch, like he doesn't have happy feet. His feet are calm. You know what I'm saying? He's very balanced. So I think they got a stud here. Very excited about getting him into the fold. All right, Garrick. For our next, just kidding. That's almost 50 minutes. We're trying to break a record here. What is the latest? Quickly, let's go rapid fire here. This question comes from Michael Hester. How does it look on the Princeton kid? My guess is he's referring to Monsana Torbert. Why the anger over previous commitment? Didn't he think they were committing more than 2 corners? We discussed this last week, Garrick. You were on it, telling us how Ohio State preferred he not take the visit to the school up north this past weekend. He took that visit. Where are we now?
Yeah, so I've spoken to 3 different sources about this, and all 3 have differing opinions. So this is going to be a constant fluid situation until his commitment date on July 1st. One source thought Ohio State was in a really good spot. One source thought it was going to be either Louisville or Michigan, and then another source thought that it could be Michigan. So honestly, kind of like the Brady situation, nothing that happens in this recruitment would surprise me. I know that Ohio State has prioritized him. They like him a lot, but like every prospect, there is a limit to their evaluations. So if the modern recruiting element exceeds what they think is appropriate, they're probably not going to go too gung-ho, even if he is in state. We'll see where things take us. But, he's been very communicative with Ohio State. Ohio State's been very confident that they can eventually win this one. Obviously, now Michigan is very confident coming off that official visit. I personally would be a little surprised if he ends up at Louisville. I know they came into the picture pretty recently, but I've always maintained that this is an Ohio State or Michigan battle. And hey, Cincinnati prospects have turned down Ohio State before, so we'll see if that's history repeats itself or if Ohio State can close this one out. But yeah, long story short, to be determined, because 3 different sources I've spoken to have different opinions on where this is at.
We appreciate all the guys have given today. This is almost a record for length of a show, but there's a lot to talk about. NBA draft tonight, first round only, so Bruce Thornton will not hear his name called, although I am told the expectation is he will be picked in the second round tomorrow night, so that could be cool. Have a good one, Nutters of Buck.